Hi, I'm Beverly Holden, and I've been sharing my journey of leaving the church and embracing spirituality. So today I thought I would try something a little bit different, and that I want to explain why I joined this cult like church in the first place. So, when I was going through breaking free, I was given the assignment to write the story of me. So, I wrote a little short book. The chapters were like 2 pages long and 12 chapters, and I just wrote about the highlights. So, I'm just going to read excerpts of some of that book to help you understand where I'm coming from and why I'm here, what landed me here in this where I am now. So at the end of chapter 1, I wrote that, but at night, no one but us kids knew what it was really like to be our family. The drinking would start when Daddy got home from work. Mom would join him. They loved sitting on the screened-in porch and would sit for hours, but eventually they would come inside and drank until they passed out. Sometimes I would come home from my job, pull Daddy out of his chair and guide him to his bed and let him fall. And then I'd go to my room. Then in my chapter 2, I wrote about being in a dysfunctional home. Growing up in a dysfunctional home doesn't means that you don't talk about the elephant in the room. For me, that elephant was the topic of drinking. We learned from an early age that Mama's and Daddy's drinking was a secret, so we did not talk about it, nor did we let anyone know. I was fine with keeping that a secret, but sometimes it would pop up anyway. There was one time when I was a teenager and my boyfriend Ronnie was kissing me goodnight at the back door, and my dad opens the door with nothing but his boxer shorts on and sticks his hand out to introduce himself. He was drunk as a skunk, and I was mortified. But there was another memory. One of my earliest memories was when I was quite young. I woke up hearing arguing, and I got up to see what was going on. And Mom and Dad were in the kitchen, and Dad was pointing a gun at my mom. And so my mom quickly pushed me around behind her to shield me to protect me. And I peeked around the corner and said, "Mama, there's no bullets in that gun." And so she quickly took control as my dad lowered his arm, and I scolded them for being too noisy, and they needed to keep it down so I could get some sleep. There was other instances when, we lived in a dry county, so we had to drive to Dallas for Dad to buy his liquor. And so Daddy would give my mom a break by taking his kids with him when he made those liquor runs. And he'd already started drinking when we made those trips to Dallas. And what I remember the most was the roundabout. He would get impatient waiting for an opening, so he would just stomp his foot on the gas and go. Cars would screech and halt, and we would duck down on the floorboard. Those were the days before seatbelts. How we managed to not have a wreck, I'll never know. But as soon as I was old enough to drive, then I was the lucky one who took him on those runs. So the thing about parents who drink heavily every night is that they don't talk much with their kids. In our family, they did not say, "I love you," or tuck us in bed or interact that much. We watched a lot of TV and fended for ourselves. We were not required to do chores, so I did not acquire a lot of self-discipline in regard to cleanliness. I was not taught how to clean house or proper hygiene. I learned about sex from my friends. I hid my feelings and pretended that everything was okay in our family. I didn't know how to express myself, and I kept things to myself. Those traits would follow me throughout my life until I discovered I could choose another way. So that's the background. That's what, maybe I was looking for structure. I'm not sure, but it was at a very young age, as a young teenager, that I decided to start attending a cult-like church. You know, how I felt back in those days, I didn't know anything about spirituality or blueprints, but I can look back now and understand why I've had the behavioral traits that I carried with me for such a long time, just growing up in an alcoholic home. So the next video, I think I will explain how I ended up in the church that I did. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. Please join me next time.